So campus fieldwork happens pretty much all over campus in the bioswales, which are rainwater retention gardens that provide fantastic food for pollinators. But off campus, we have two main sites. One is Gavin's Pond, which is town land in Sharon, Massachusetts, and that's where we do our frosted elfin research. So the frosted elfin only lays eggs on certain species of plants, so it's what we call a host plant specialist. And at Gavin's Pond, there is a ton of wild indigo, which is one of the elfin's favorite plants. The indigo species at Gavin's Pond is actually called small yellow indigo, so the blooms are yellow, not indigo, which confuses some people. So in July, Gavin's Pond is just a sea of yellow blooming indigo. It's a lot of fun. So we do a lot of plant surveys, so we're often sitting in the plants and you can kind of see our heads poking up over the indigo. And then butterfly surveys, so a lot of walking around through the woods. The elfins really like kind of piney, fragmented habitats. So Gavin's Pond's fantastic because it has all these patches of indigo that you can walk through the woods to get to. So it's almost like hiking when we're surveying butterflies. So that's one of our field sites off campus, and then the other one is Westerly Land Trust sites down in southern Rhode Island. And there we're working on 4 different sites. One's a community farm, so there's vegetables blooming and developing, and cut flower farms. We have bee hotels there. 2 are hay fields. So hay fields are really cool because they're mowed in spring and fall for hay, but they're left to kind of just grow wildly in between. So there's a lot of weedy species and a lot of wildflowers that we don't get here on campus. And then our last site in Westerly, which is my students' favorite and probably one of my favorite, is the Avondale Preserve, which is this just gorgeous meadow preserve that in some places has been seeded for pollinator-friendly plants. So there's a lot of weedy things blooming, but a lot of kind of purposely planted things blooming. And what's fantastic about Avondale is it's so close to the coast that you get like this salty, cool breeze as you're doing your observations and collecting data. And so I often plan our week so that we spend the hottest days down in Westerly, where it's way more comfortable and a lot less humid than here in Providence. So as an insect biologist, I often get asked how to save the bees. And a lot of people think keeping honeybees is how to save the bees, but it's actually not. Honeybees are super important for commercial pollination of our crops, but they're actually non-native. So we brought them over here from Europe, and they wouldn't be here if it weren't for us. So when you think about, saving the bees, the absolute best thing anyone can do is plant native flowers. And so I talked a lot about what bees eat and what butterflies eat, and you need blooming flowers to feed bees and butterflies. And I say native flowers because 1, it's way easier as a gardener to plant things that are adapted to this environment. And 2, it's a lot better for the insects to plant things that they've evolved with for many, many years. And so there are some really great sites for finding plants that are native to this area. The Pollinator Partnership has a bunch of regional planting guides for the US, and then the Tufts Pollinator Initiative has a Northeast planting guide. And what's really cool about those guides is you can see which pollinators certain plants are best for. So some are better for butterflies, some are better for bees. And then there's also hummingbirds you can attract to your gardens, wasps, which people tend to be afraid of, but they actually provide really great pest control, chemical-free pest control, because they do eat caterpillars. Wasps are carnivorous. And so when you're thinking about saving the bees, think about planting flowers that are native to your area, and think about planting flowers that bloom throughout the season. So some flowers that bloom in the spring, some that bloom in the summer, and some that bloom in the fall, so that there's this well-rounded diet for insects throughout the year. And then lastly, if you want to help us collect data, we have a project on iNaturalist called Providence Pollinators. So iNaturalist is a community science platform where you can upload photos and identify what's in your photo, and it's pretty much for anything that lives outside. Plants, insects, mushrooms, anything you can find. And people will go back and forth and help identify your photo. And then once your photo has been identified 3 times, it becomes a research grade observation. So if you sign up for iNaturalist and join our Providence Pollinators project, you can help us survey all the pollinators in Providence County and collect data that we will use going forward.